Welcome to the Refined Collective podcast. I'm your host, Kat Harris. This podcast is designed to hold space for honest conversations. From purity culture to faith, sexuality, relationships, identity, culture, deconstruction, and more. My hope is to look doubt in the face, be curious, seek God, and ask meaningful questions to address any elephant in the room with openness, nuance, and grace. I won't pretend to be an expert and definitely don't have all the answers. And though it may feel easier and more comfortable to exist in the black and white, I invite you to discover God with me in the gray and unexpected spaces. So whoever you are, whatever you do or don't believe, you are welcome here and have a seat at this table. Make sure you're subscribed to the Refined Collective podcast on iTunes, so each week when a new episode drops, it'll download straight to those devices. And while you're at it, if you feel so inclined, leave us a 5-star rating and written review. It would be so helpful to get our message out there. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. Welcome to the Refined Collective podcast. I am your host, Kat Harris, and a special shout out and thank you to Newsstand Studio here at Rockefeller Center. Thank you so much for producing and hosting my podcast. You guys, Rockefeller has taken me from my Brooklyn closet to literally, I'm looking out at Fifth Ave in New York City to record my podcast. Like, oh my gosh, never despise small beginnings. So if you want to follow along with Rockefeller, you can follow them on Instagram, Rockefeller Center, or Twitter, Rock Center NYC. Chasing your dreams is not a solo journey. And I have learned that more than ever in this entire journey of running a podcast. It truly takes a freaking village to make this thing happen and put out every single week. And I have a huge thanks to give to our Patreon community and family. And our community has been growing. So I just want to thank some new Patreon members. All right, thank you, Jason, Rachel, Cassidy, Jenna, Brenda, Danica, Lexi, Jennifer, Amanda, Caitlin, Colleen, Rachel, Stephanie, Diana, Grace, Kelsey, Lily, Casey, Brittany, Abby B, Adam, Joshua, Eric, Cara, Susanna, Tessa, Anna, Grace W, Melanie, James, Amanda, and Kelly E. I cannot thank you enough. I'm just giving you a hug. Literally, my arms are outstretched here in the podcast studio, just giving you so much thanks. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us and helping keep our lights on. If you are interested in learning more about Patreon and how to support the Refined Collective podcast for as little as $5 a month, go ahead and go to patreon.com/therefinedcollective. All right, today's episode, this is super fun. I'm really excited about it because this is actually a 3-part series with one of my favorite previous male guests. And going into this new season, after having 2.5 months off of recording, I realized I wanted to have less conversations with strangers and more conversations with people I know and have had past conversations with and have fleshed some of these conversations out with already. So this is going to be that. This 3-part series that we're starting today is called He Said, She Said, because it is a conversation with him and her. Welcome, Manuel Reyes, the host of the Nights at the Round Table podcast. I freaking love your podcast. I know I've told you that before.
Thank you. Yeah. We try a little bit.
You do try a little bit.
Yeah, you're trying.
All you need, baby girl, just a little bit. Yes, I love y'all's podcast. I found y'all over COVID on TikTok. You and Angela were doing some dance videos, and then I found y'all had a podcast about like faith and deconstruction, and I was like, I want to be friends with them.
Yeah, I mean, we've gained a lot of fans and also a lot of haters. But I mean, it's like you can't have one without the other.
That's right. I always say that haters are the proof that I'm on the right track, that I'm doing something right. Because if I wasn't doing something right, then I wouldn't be getting resistance. Resistance is proof of the existence that I'm doing something powerful. At least that is what I tell myself.
No, it's true. I feel bad. I used to take it personal,
Yeah.
but now I'm just like, man, I feel so bad for people because I know what it must take to muster up that much anger and energy to like project it onto someone.
Yeah.
Like you really have to have nothing going on in your life and be really upset with your own self to be able to give that to someone.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. Because there's like never a time in my life where I am thinking, I really want to get on the internet, troll some people and say some bad things. Like I don't have time. Yeah. I'm either doing stuff for people, creating content to help people, enjoying my time with my wife. Like when do I have time to be upset?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say that the season of launching my book this past April, I received more hate publicly than I ever have gotten from anyone. Oh, wow. Besides maybe like being made fun of or bullied in middle school.
Was there like a consistent stream, like a topically?
Yeah, well, so my book, Sexless in the City, the thing that's funny about it, I'm like, if you read the damn book, like, I'm not this like crazy out there person. Like at the end of the day, like the moral of the story is like, after I've deconstructed, I'm still waiting until marriage to have sex. However, because I'm questioning the patriarchy, because I'm deconstructing a lot of things, because I believe men and women are equal, because I believe that God loves all people, no matter who you are or are not attracted to, I feel like the people that come out of the woodworks, and people had told me this, but experiencing the meanness of other Christians there were days where I would like let it wash off my shoulders, but then there were days where it really ruined my day. I like let it ruin my day. I was like, man, are we reading the same Bible? Because you're mean. And like you said, I had one guy spend an entire day. He did like 20 direct to camera IG stories telling the world about how much of a heretic I am and like, don't follow me and all this stuff. And so I was like, man, Christians, it honestly like challenged my faith a lot because I was just like, how can we say that we believe the same thing and yet you're being so hateful?
Yeah. I mean, because it's in the name of God. Mm-hmm. Think about the amount of things that were done in the name of God. Yeah. When we look back in history and we're like, oh my God, that was not godly. But as it was happening, they're like, this is the most righteous thing we can do. I had a guy do the same thing to me. And this is how freaking weird and bipolar these people are, which is why I don't take anything anyone says serious online. Twice he's come at me. Oh, you're all about the things. All you do is talk about things. And I'm like, what? He said it on a post where I'm literally telling people to protect their energy and make sure you protect who's around you, your circle, so that it stays peaceful. Your life stays peaceful. I coincidentally happened to be in front of my BMW. He ignores the whole post about guarding your energy and making sure that you protect your light and only focuses on the fact that I'm in front of a BMW. All you do is talk about things. And I'm just like, what? And then I posted, I got a new Louis belt and I was like, Christmas came early. And he's like, oh, it's embarrassing. Godly. Let's godly flex. Don't like normal flex. And I was like, Trick, do you even follow me? Like, have you not seen all the crazy amount of content that I put out where I'm just talking about God and revelation and trying to help people? You see any of that? Oh, my bad, bro. I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
Like 1 minute he's condemning me and the very next minute he's like, oh, thanks for responding to the jab. Oh, let's godly flex together. Okay, I'll go check out your stuff. And I'm like, I couldn't believe what I was reading because when he attacked me with veracity. Yeah. And then I wrote back one thing and he's like, thanks for answering the jab. He literally knew he was jabbing me. Oh, and I love your music. Wow.
The picture that I get in my head is, the person who's like poke, 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 poke. And I just think of, or egging, I think of being a kid and just trying to egg on my brother, really I'm just like wanting his attention. I want to hang out, but I'm being annoying. And then if I have finally gotten his attention by like pissing him off, and now he's like, what? And you're like, hi. Like,
I always give people a chance.
Yeah.
I'll write them and I'll give them a chance. And depending on how they write back, I'll just block people.
Yeah.
But I'll go back and forth with a lot of people. Yeah. Like, I don't mind it.
I don't mind the block though. I'm gonna block if there's gonna be some hate.
I'll start blocking when they start messing up the energy of my page.
Yeah. Or like commenting on everyone else's comment.
Yeah, because a lot of people that don't love God are on my page, or normal people. Yeah. And I ain't gonna let you mess up something for them.
Right.
You know? Because you don't have nobody on your page that's not saved saying big ups to the stuff that you're sharing, because you don't share anything for the lost. You only share stuff for other Christians.
Yeah.
And anytime I ask them, hey, how many non-believers are going to your inbox right now? How many messages you have? Can you take a picture and send it to me of people who are wanting to find out the God that you serve because how you treat people? I haven't had one person say yes. Not one. Not one. And I tell them, kindly look over the comments that you commented on my page. Can you find anyone but other angry Christians saying amen?
Wow.
Do you have any non-believers DMing you saying, man, I really want to know this Jesus you're talking about because the way you talk to him, that's what I want in my life.
Yeah.
No one.
Mic drop.
But you can ask me for receipts. I'll show you. I'll show you atheists. I'll show you non-believers. I'll show you believers who hate God and now are coming back. I got receipts. So between the two of us, you can say I'm non-Christian, but one of us is the only one leading people to Jesus. The other one is just like doing a pep rally for other angry Christians.
And that's a pep rally that I don't want to go to. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, Jesus don't want to go to it.
Boring, weird pep rally ever.
It's dumb.
All right. Well, I'm excited. I am really excited about this conversation. I feel like when we FaceTimed last weekend, and I feel like you made this like tiny comment about like double standards, and I was like, ooh, I want to run with that. Like the double standards between men and women. Like obviously we live in a patriarchal society where men can get away with a lot more than women, as in my personal opinion. However,
right. There are a lot of men that will argue that.
There are. And you want to know who argues it the most, I feel like, is like white men. Like white men working in finance. I'm like, I don't really want to hear how you have it tough in your like $5 million a year plus bonus job. Don't even get me started. But yes, there are, what you and I were talking about is how like there's some like funny things and serious things that women can get away with that men just can't, and vice versa.
Correct. Yes.
So I thought we would just have that conversation.
Shoot one off. Like, let's get into it.
Okay. I think this is the one that I feel like I've talked with my girlfriends about for years. Girls can go to the club and dance up on each other, freak dance on each other, and it's not weird at all. Like
not even the club.
Not even the club.
Most girls aren't go in your living room doing a TikTok challenge.
That's right.
You will slap each other's butt. You'll dance with each other, and it will be normal. Yeah. And you won't see two dudes doing that. Right. It will never happen.
In fact, I feel bad for guys when they go out. I'm like, because I go out because I'm like, give me a beat. Like, I just want to go to the dance floor. I just want to dance it out. And I see guys on the periphery. I'm like, they can't just like go out into the dance floor with a group of guys and dance with each other, dance up on each other without it being weird.
Just you saying it sounded weird in my head. But like go a bunch of guys dance up on each other. But let's keep in mind that there's a large portion of a community that can do that. For the LGBTQ community, that's normal. So I don't even want to make it abnormal.
Yeah.
For straight men, it is weird for us to do that. We're not really doing that with each other. But for straight women, it's not weird.
It's not weird. And then also it's just, general. I mean, for years, my best friend and I living in New York, we would just like hold hands walking down the street, or like put our arms around each other, or constantly rubbing each other's feet while we're watching a TV show. And our guy friends will walk in and be like, what are y'all doing? And we're like, what? Like, we're just cuddling. What's the big deal?
Y'all get to cuddle?
We do.
That's a sweet thing. It's never weird. I've never thought of it as weird, but I've never seen two homies cuddle. I've never thought of cuddling with a homie. Like I'm not like, I don't know what I would think if I saw two of my homies cut. I mean, I guess I would think some stuff. I mean, it's so bad to admit it. It's so bad to admit it that it's like, it's fully a double standard. Yeah. Okay. So I think to take that one further, for me, I always think it's hilarious because my wife and her best friend are always talking about it. And you guys are like fully comfortable being naked around each other. Yeah. Like you won't think anything to compliment each other's boobs and be like, you got some nice boobs because you see them. And if you're together and you're all going out, like you said, it's nothing.
Yeah. Or like go for a grab, like, oh, wow.
Change shirts, feel each other's boobs, make sure that how they real or are they not. Like when my friend, her best friend, got, some implants or whatever. It's like, you can feel them. Like, check them out.
And you're like, I can't look directly. Should I look? What should I?
We can't do that. Like, we can't be like, hey man, come check out my package. Tell me if it's cute. It just doesn't work that way. But I mean, I'm not mad at it. Y'all can do it.
But here's what's weird about that to me is because growing up in athletics, you guys have like open showers. That's not how it is in girls' locker rooms. Like girls' locker rooms, we all have our own individual showers. Like we're changing. And it definitely took me a long time to get comfortable. I mean, I used to like put my shirt on halfway and then like put the other one over my head real quick. But I feel like guys' locker rooms, even I work out at Equinox and I've learned so much about male culture from my gay guy friend telling me about the locker room at Equinox. It's just like, he's like, everyone's naked, everyone's peacocking the whole time. Like, and that's not how it is in the girls' locker room. Like we're naked, and I mean, I'm definitely like looking.
But look, you're talking about, you got to preface the listener. Equinox is like the Whole Foods of gyms. It's a very different culture because you got the men that are there are mainly high earning, high successful men. So there is a lot of peacocking going on. There's a lot of, normal gyms, not so much. I go to Platinum Fitness over here and I haven't seen one naked dude. Sorry. Nobody walks around naked at Planet Fitness. It's just not happening. So it really depends on, and most gyms I go to, dudes aren't walking around naked.
Yeah. That's interesting. So do we talk about why? Like why?
I think it comes down to, I mean, a lot of it is toxicity. Mm-hmm. What's considered masculine, what's considered feminine, like that's the biggest, I would say, ingredient of why things happen the way that they do. So obviously in our culture, when it comes to two dudes cuddling, there's automatically an assumption with that for a straight man or a hetero man, you don't want anything close to that type of judgment. Yeah. So you're going to go above and beyond to push it even further away and give like macho bravado that no, I don't even want to I don't want to come close to being viewed as gay because of the stigmatism that comes with it that our society has placed upon it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it has much more to do with that than whether or not it's okay or not okay.
Yeah.
Because I think in a grand scheme of things, showing each other affection or being cool with one another, like, I don't think that's bad or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's just the way we were raised, though. Men don't do that.
Yeah. I remember going to Africa years ago. I was in Uganda, and it's male affection is very normal. And I remember just seeing so many grown men and platonic friendships walking down the street holding hands. And That's cool. And I also know that is also cultural in certain countries in Asia. And I wonder, I guess my question for you is, like, do you wish that you could go on the dance floor and dance with your guys? Or do you wish that you could have more affection? Or maybe you are like that. Because I feel like I'm so grateful for like physical touch in my girlfriends. And I love that I can just go dancing and do what go have a good night of dancing and it not be like a weird thing. Cause I feel like there's so much like beauty and connection and laughter and even just like, oh wow, like your boobs, what type of bra are you wearing? Like,
I think more so than not, we do have a propensity to lean a certain type of way. So men are not as much into the emotional things. And I don't know if I'm not a scientist or like somebody who studies it that much to know that that's just more how we're wired as opposed to how we were raised. I know we were raised to not show too much emotion, but I wonder if that's more from because biologically we're not emotional creatures, whereas women tend to be more. I know that scientifically there's more nurturing, there's more emotions coming through a woman than there is to a man, mainly because of what you guys have to deal with, what you have to carry, what you have to embody. So part of me is like, maybe it's okay that we're not as emotional or not so similar, because if it was, then the lines would be so close together that it's like, I don't even know, what would be the difference. But I don't know. I think you're correct in saying that society does play a big part, because if we were in that African, culture, then I'd probably have a completely different answer.
Totally.
And it'd be like, yeah, it's weird that you guys don't hold hands or kiss on the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. So it fully is a cultural perspective. I'm open to any of it. And I understand that none of it makes you more feminine or masculine. It's funny because I was watching this thing on Instagram, and it was this big thing about Birdman, which is the head of Cash Money Records, right? Full thug, full from Louisiana, like a certified OG, right? And everybody made a big deal when he kissed Lil Wayne on the mouth and then kissed another dude on the mouth, right? Everybody was like, oh, they're gay or they're whatever, blah, 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 blah. Then there's this guy that comes out who Birdman also kissed on the mouth. I think his name is Turk. And he started talking about it. And he's like, man, you guys wouldn't understand it because there's a culture within us OGs that when we do that, it's like real love.
Yeah.
It's a sign of respect and real love. And you guys wouldn't understand it. And he's kind of alluding that it stems from prison culture and gangster culture and all that stuff. And if you're not a part of that culture, you wouldn't get it. The most that I can liken it to is kind of like The Godfather, where in a family like that, the mafia, it was nothing for you guys to kiss each other, kiss on the hands, or you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. And so I started believing now more than ever. I'm like, man, it's fully cultural on what's appropriate, what's not, what's masculine, what's feminine. It's all based on how you're raised, and it'll completely change your outlook. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like for years now, I've been very vocal publicly about giving men the space to be human and have feelings and cry. And I've been listening to the Man Enough podcast with Justin Baldoni. Have you listened to it? It's really good. So it came about after his book came out, but they talk, a lot about toxic masculinity and what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be masculine? And I have said for years now, I want a man who feels comfortable in his body and feels connected to his heart and is able to cry. And then I actually have a family member in my life who, a man, and he is so connected to his heart. And he cries it's hard to get through a conversation without him crying. And I find myself judging him. Like there's a part in me, it's like, I'm like, God, freaking cry baby. Or I'm like, man, I find myself having this knee-jerk reaction of like, she's just, lock it up, rub some dirt in it, be a man. And
I know what that feels like because I'm a crier.
Yeah, so it's like, my friend was just talking to me. She's like, when her and her husband got married, their pastors had them read this book for her and for him so that he could understand her. And they were reading him, and halfway through, they're like, we need to switch because I, as a woman, I am less emotional. I don't cry. It takes a lot for me to cry. And I just realized in this moment recently with one of my family members, like, as much as I say I want this like emotionally intelligent man that's connected to his heart, my knee-jerk reaction is still to shame that. And I feel embarrassed by that. Like, that's not how I want to be. Like, I don't want to have that gut reaction of like, blah, like, stop being such a crybaby. But I'm like, wow, that's still in me.
Yeah, I think it says more about where you want to be than the other guy. Because I think it's probably you understanding what you really need. And at the same time, understanding that there's some changes that you have to make in order to receive that beautiful blessing. Because look, I'm fully in touch with my emotions. Like, everything about me, like my brother-in-law who is gay, it's like, are you sure you're on the right team? Because you be doing some stuff, and I'm like, I laugh about it all the time because he's right. You know, if you were to judge me on, you know, societal norms, you know, I love shopping, you know, I love rom-coms. These are all two double standards that I'm mentioning. If it came to action or like, you know, Julia Roberts, I'm gonna pick Julia Roberts. I'm very much a crier, in touch with my feelings. You know, I played sports, really good at them, but I enjoy, you know, sewing and making my own clothes. And I like baking. And out of me and Ange, I cook more, you know, like, there's a lot of things. I do the laundry, I do the dishes, I do all the household chores that, quote unquote, our society says a woman should do. And yet I feel like more manly than ever because I just understand, like, you can't trick me anymore. Some people will try to trick me into thinking this is what's manly and this is what's not. Like, when you read the verse in the Bible where it says the man is the head of the household. I remember I did a check in my Bible college when I asked them, I was in New Testament class, and I asked everybody in there, and I was like, hey, how many of you guys would be okay with your wife making more money than you? And they freaking came at me so hard. And that was the one verse that they used. It was like, oh, well, the man has to be the head of the household and da, 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 da. And I just didn't even respond to all of them because they were so angry that I would even like just hint at that.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart that day because I'm like, man, I feel bad for every one of your wives.
Yeah.
The great wives that you're going to meet who have the potential to earn more than you. They just do. They have more talent, they have more ability, they have more business savvy, and you're going to keep them down because of some pseudo wannabe verse that you are taking in all the wrong context.
Yeah.
Because you're insecure and you don't want her to shine brighter than you.
And also this is what I never understood about Bible school. I went to I didn't know it was a conservative Bible school at the time. I know now it was. I went to a conservative Baptist Bible school. And I was on the front row of every single one of my theology classes. I was a Bible major. And I remember I just constantly was getting these like condescending pats on the head that it was so cute that I was a Bible major because I was a woman. And, you know, the guys in my class would say, oh, you know, well, that's like cute that you're a Bible major, but you know, you can't ever really use it. Like, you can't be a pastor or a teacher. Like, that's a man's job. And I remember sitting up there, like, I mean, I was writing 20-page papers on the sovereignty of God and the, you know, the character of God and the problem of evil, while these schmucks in the back were arguing over Bible, well, is the ESV better or the NIV better? And I remember thinking, man, we're in real trouble if these are our future pastors. And now here we are 20 years later, evangelical culture. I'm like, yeah, I was kind of right. Like, we got in some real trouble with those guys. And I remember being in those classes and being like, but has anyone read Proverbs 31? Like, we're talking about a business savvy, entrepreneurial woman with influence, not just in the home, but with her employees in her city, using her voice for influence. And I always just was very, very confused by that. But I thought, oh, that must just be my flesh. That just must be me from the curse of Genesis 3 wanting to rule over my husband. Those aren't right. And now I'm like, wow, I feel like the body keeps score thing, that book. I'm like, man, as I've deconstructed so much, realizing my body actually has been intuitive and right. And the Holy Spirit lives in me. Like, I'm a house for the holy. And so that stuff in those Bible classes felt off, not because it was my sin or my flesh, but because like my body and I feel like God in me was like, no, like you're onto something, Kat. Like women are powerful too. Like it's not just women be quiet and be mousy and be in the background.
I think it's just, it's so asinine. I really do. Cause I'm like, just play out your theory, men. Play that out. A woman is not permitted to teach. So if you're saying that if she does, she's in rebellion, right? So what you're telling me that is she preaches the good news of Jesus because she feels like she's called to, and she leads millions to Jesus and they believe in their heart. You're telling me Jesus is up there like, shame on you. You're not a man. You're telling me she's going to get to heaven and the Lord's going to be like, you brought millions to me, but you're a woman and you shouldn't have said my name and brought people to me. They're all getting in, but you, my dear, are not. You're in rebellion. Really think about, like, that's what you're saying. Yeah. Like you're like, if you play out your theory, I forget the fact that you're ignoring the cultural context of it and who he was talking to and what church specifically he was talking to and what problem was that church having. Were they having problems with women? Yeah. You know, like you just can't copy and paste everything.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to get to the heart of why he's saying what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because there's so many women in scripture that did big things, and the amount of women that Christ chose to show himself to, and not only show himself, but show himself first.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense, especially when Christ is very clear when and I don't like saying very clear, but when he says, you know, in Christ, there's no male, there's no female, there's no free, there's no slave. It wasn't Christ that said that. I think it was Paul. But what he was saying was the lines that we have drawn to make this thing super clean and easy is no longer available to you, because Christ will invite anyone who wants him. The parable where he sent out the invitation to the wedding and no one came. So he was like, go out in the streets and invite everyone. Doesn't matter what they look like, just invite them, because there's somebody that's going to take this message, and I'll use them before I use somebody who thinks they're the ones that should be used, you know?
Yeah.
I get so angry, but I mean, I used to be the same person that thought that way. So.
Did you know that an estimated 5 billion plastic hand soap and cleaning bottles are thrown out every year? And each bottle can be made of more than 90% water. Let's stop wasting water and throwing out more plastic. Get Blue Land's revolutionary refill cleaning system instead. Blue Land was founded on the belief that a cleaner planet starts at home. Buy the bottle once, refill it forever. No more plastic waste. Just fill Blue Land's beautiful bottles with warm water, pop in one of the hand soap or spray cleaner tablets, and within minutes, you have powerful and effective cleaning products with incredible scents like rose bergamot and lily mint. Blue Land also offers laundry and dishwasher tabs as well. Their bottles start at just $10 when you buy a kit and are meant to be reused forever, with refill tablets that start at just $2. And listen, I've used clean products that you're like, is this really cleaning my dishes or clothes? Because they still stink or have residue. You know, I'm all about clean living, but I also want my things to actually be clean. So cut the plastic waste without sacrificing clean. Get Blue Land. You'll love it, and the planet will thank you. Right now, you can get 15% off your first order when you go to blueland.com/refined. That's 15% off your first order of any products Blue Land offers at blueland.com/refined. I have some more double standards.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? Not paying on a date. Real talk, I don't even pretend to go for my wallet. Like, I'm not saying if I'm on a date, like if it's the first date, I won't even like make a move. I won't even do like a hand gesture to like, oh,
really?
you meet. No, I think, you know.
This is the weird thing. Look, this is the weird thing about certain things. This is, and I watch a couple of podcasts on relationship, and this person said something once and it really like rang with me. And they were like, modern women want to be modern based on what it is that they feel comfortable being modern about. So if there's certain expectations that are easier for the man to do, then we'll take that traditional role, because what you're talking about is a traditional role, a man paying for a woman. That is a traditional role. But yet women want modern rules for them applied to them, but they want to dip in and out of traditional roles when it suits them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these guys were making the argument of like, that's a problem with us, because you either want to be traditional or you want to be modern. And the modern feminist is like, I can take care of myself.
Yeah.
I don't need you to take care of me. But when it comes to paying, the modern woman will go for her wallet. And then if the guy says, no, I got you, then it's like, okay.
Yeah. So here's a clarification. I do this on the first date. Once, we're dating, or let's say on the first date, we start here and then we do a couple other things, like I'll offer. But I would say as a general rule of thumb, for the first date, I'm like, I'm not going to even go for it, because part of me just wants to, first, I want to see how he's going to react. And this is also a double standard. Like, this is something a woman can get away with. Like, if I was on a date with a guy and he just did not go for his wallet at all, like, I wouldn't even know what to do. I would be like, I got the pink tax. You get paid more for the same job. So maybe it is modern and feminist of me to want him to pay, because he's making more money on the dollar for every, isn't it? I need to start doing like the Dax Shepard thing and have a fact check at the end of my episodes.
Well, the whole, I mean, because, man, it's so difficult, because it really depends on where you're drawing.
You can at least pay for drinks.
It depends on where you're drawing your numbers from. Like, again, so I like watching podcasts and videos from both sides of everything. So when it comes to political season, I'm watching both sides. When it comes to most of these arguments, I'm watching both sides. I grit and bear it, even when it's like stuff that I'm like, I'm not going to agree. This is stupid. I will watch it, because I'm like, there's no way these people are all stupid. They may have something that they say that I disagree with, but it doesn't mean that they're stupid or they don't know anything. So when I sit and I watch, I watch people and they'll discuss the pay gap. They'll discuss gender inequality. They'll discuss all those things. And from what I hear from one side, there's facts to prove it. Then the other side is like, okay, but the facts are skewed based on the numbers that you're drawing from, or how you're drawing the numbers. So it's like the same thing when people say, oh, there's more gun on gun violence between blacks on blacks than there is whatever. So, that whole argument. But then the one side, the black side is saying, hey, but you're not taking the information in correctly. You're getting to that number because you're doing this and not including this. So it's very important, like, once you see those numbers, it's like, where'd they get the numbers from? And then you go back and you do your own number check. But it doesn't change the fact that it's very much so going in and out of traditional and modern roles. And I think it's important to decide which person you're going to be, because if you're the modern person, you're going for the wallet on date 1 and date 50.
I don't think it's that black and white. You're saying you can be modern or traditional. I think in order for you to maintain an actual argument, you have to be one or the other. I
because
disagree.
Who decides when you then you're able to go in and out of modern and traditional, but you're fully expecting the guy not to go out of traditional. He can't be modern, because by him not pulling out his card, he's being a modern man in a modern world, respecting the femininity or the feminism of you. So for him to pull out the card is like, wait a minute, that's a traditional role. That's a stereotype. She could totally get offended by that, because if she's a modern woman, she'll be like, wait, I got money. I can pay for myself. So if he doesn't go for it, he may be respecting you.
That's right.
If you are a modern woman.
That's right.
But if you're traditional in that sense, but then modern in everything else, meaning if he's like, okay, cool. So she expects me to pay. All right, cool. So then I'm going to have expectations on her too. So if we take this further, I'm going to expect her to cook me dinner every time I get home.
This is why communication is so important, because just because I want someone to pay for my first date does not mean that I want to cook every day in the kitchen. And I do. Well, here's what I say is I sympathize for men. There's not much that I sympathize with men for culturally at this moment in time, just because women have been so oppressed and for so long, and we still are oppressed in so many ways. However, we send mixed messages of what we want. And also, like, every woman and man wants and expects something different. And one of my guy friends years ago told me, he's like, listen, I love if you want me to pay. I love if she doesn't, but everyone has a different playbook. We want it as a man. I want to please my woman, but I can't use the playbook from my last relationship. Like, you have to give us your playbook. So if you are the modern, or if you are the traditional, if you're a hybrid, whatever you are, be willing to communicate, as opposed to like, it's probably not kind for me just to not even go for my wallet.
Here's where that becomes problematic. And this is just from a married person who's been married for 11 years. You're not going to know. You're going to have to try to assess what type of person you are with based on their core values of what they make plain to you, right?